Are live for episode 23 of the PHU Dynasty podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and the Texas Armadillos, and we're here with Sean O'Shea from the Lake Lure Long Gamers and a very special Los Angeles Lambs repping the company on the shirt, repping the franchise. James Seafe is here, champion.
Yep, it's good to be here. You know, I'd like to think that the team spirit helped propel my team, but even if not, glad to be here.
You are the only person out of the entire league to actually buy the shirt. I'm kind of surprised.
It's not a coincidence, as far as I
think I need to buy a shirt next year just so I can win.
You got to show your team you believe in them.
That's correct. You have to rep the company inside and out. So, so today we're going to talk about James's championship run, and we're going to do a position review on his team and just the overall makeup on what a championship team looks like, right? Wow. So this is what it is, and. Real quickly, we also have another video that we took a while back. We think it might get a couple of laughs, so I'll play it here for you guys right now. On his way to another 1-12 season. Classy. Classy. He was so hyped up for that intro, I had to fuck it up.
Love it.
It's the old AT&T Stadium tour. So anywho, we have a couple other things too that we'll do in addition to James's team review. So let's go ahead and get started with that right now. So the first one is called Name That Bus, Sean. And this is a very basic game. I'm just going to give you guys clues on who this bust is, and you guys have to guess it, and the first one that guesses it right wins, I guess. Whatever you want to win, you can claim your prize at Dynabook or something. I don't know. But I'm going to start giving you guys some clues, and once you think you got it, just let me know. So here we go. So this bus played for the Silly Nannies.
That doesn't narrow it down.
It's not
Najee Harris.
It's not Najee Harris. You guys have any guesses so far? There's plenty of bus there.
So many guesses.
Dorial Green Beckham.
It's a great guess, but no. I think that was a Tibbs pick, by the way.
Do we get to, once we guess, do we not get to guess again?
Well, you can guess because I got multiple slides.
Okay.
So you're not going to just get this.
I was saying this is.
There's a lot of blue space down there.
I was being facetious, but it doesn't really narrow it down.
All right, here we
go.
Any
of our teams really.
Ortega-Whiteside.
No, it's not J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. So your next clue is he was drafted in 2013. So maybe that'll help a little bit.
Stephen Hill.
It is not Stephen Hill. It's a great guess, though. He was a great bust. And then he was swiftly traded to me right after, I believe, actually. Wow. Oh, no, wait. I drafted Stephen Hill and traded to him.
Oh, God.
He was part of the Des Bryant deal, I believe. The great Des Bryant deal, 2013. I got Demarius back, I think, for that one. Sean, you got anything for this?
2013.
Long gamers currently weren't in the league when this was going on.
Or could have been
the Houston Hootenanny were in this draft. As a matter of fact, I looked at it earlier.
After and before my time.
The gap years. Shit.
All right, we're gonna move on.
Was a running back. Okay.
Was a running back. 2013 draft, and he played for the Silly Nannies.
Zach Stacy.
He was in that draft, but that is not the answer.
Yeah, he wasn't a complete bust. That's why
I thought for sure this was going to be a receiver when we started this.
Yeah.
Well, you thought
running
wrong.
Back, 2015 running backs. Jeez. Donald Brown. No, that was
not Donald Brown.
Not bad.
Yeah, he was decent.
All right, I'm going to give you another clue. Picked at 1.3.
Oh, dear.
In 2013. Behind one, I guess, very big name.
Was it Richardson? No.
It was not Richardson.
Because I know, Sean, you and I both had him.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I drafted Trent.
Yeah, Sean drafted Trent Richardson, yes. He traded everything to me.
The only reason I didn't say his name is because I knew I drafted him.
Is that any guesses yet?
Jordan Howard? I don't know if I consider him a bust, though.
It's not Jordan Howard.
Jordan Howard's he's only been in the league since 2017.
All right, we're going to the next slide.
Oh, Monty Ball.
Oh, Monty Ball, yeah.
Monty Ball it is.
Oh, my God.
There he is. Monty Ball.
He did nothing.
1.3. Played
Wow.
for the Broncos was my last clue, but
Yeah.
you guys got it before the last clue, so I'm proud of
Okay.
you guys for that. James
Points to James.
hopped in there. James
That's-
wins the inaugural name that, but there'll be plenty
Jeez,
more.
man, that's deep in the
come.
archives.
There's lots of discussion to be had for busts. There's so many of them throughout the years, but here we go. Let's talk about some good shit. And it's the PHU Dynasty champions, the Los Angeles Lambs. Once again, congrats, James. We even got your 3 little trophies on the bottom of the screen.
Great production value.
Great production value. It's funny, when I
Lambs.
first made it, I only gave you 2 trophies, and then I forgot that you won it before with the Trey Mason year.
Yes,
I was only
the St.
kind of
Louis Lambs, but then I had to follow.
Technically, it was the same franchise, so
But it's the same. Yeah.
we'll give you your 3 trophies down there. So let's talk about your playoff journey. So the first week, obviously, you rightfully earned a bye. With your, which,
hey, I needed the bye. You know what? But I think it's
good.
Well, yeah, because you had a big week. If I would have played you, I would have lost. If I would have played Vince in the first round, I would have lost. I mean, I think it all starts there at the bye, right? Like the unique thing of our league having the 2 bye weeks, and the 6 teams make the playoffs. It's a great setup. We all strive to get one of those byes because it's literally a free win, right? You get. Because my team really didn't even – I'm jumping ahead here, but my team did not play well in the semis. I had Eckler and Cooks on the COVID. I thought for sure Vince was going to beat me. I had a couple guys have big games. His team really didn't do much. And so, boom, I'm in the changer game with not really even doing anything in 2 weeks. So, again, those regular season weeks, they all matter. I was fortunate that I had the kind of like a mid points against. But, I was one of the higher scoring teams too. Almost got the points title. So, the bye is important. Got to grind it out in the regular season.
Yeah,
but
especially this year. Week 15 was, I think, one of the lowest total scoring weeks I can remember.
It was. Well, I think that was when a lot of the guys were starting to being put in the COVID protocols and stuff, and
good boon to the team.
Yeah,
good timing.
Yeah, it just shows the importance too, from the regular season of just good quality depth being so important too, to get to that bye to even set you up to be where you're at now. So I think your team was one of the deeper ones if you look from a overall depth standpoint, I guess, in the regular season too. So, losing McCaffrey early in the year, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But so we got through the bye week, then we get to Vince's team, which you kind of talked about a little bit already, winning 128 to 119. Perhaps a little bit of a down week for Vince. It
was. There's one note on this one I want to say, because this was week 15. This was Christmas week, or week 16. This was Christmas week. This is when James Conner was inactive against the Colts, and I remember sending Vince like a text or something because Rodgers had a pretty big game on the Saturday afternoon. I think Vince had Debo go on Thursday, so he was up like 50 to 5. Like he was rolling me pretty good, and I remember I texted him. I was like, James Conner being inactive is the first step to a comeback. I really didn't even believe it. I was just like, I just put it out there, and sometimes you just got to get lucky. But
maybe I should start putting stuff into the chat that I want to happen, like Saquon showing up or James Robinson coming back from the dead. Some things like that. That'd be nice. But nevertheless, it was a relatively close game. All things considered, it was.
It came down to the Sunday night game. I think he had Terry McLaurin. I had CeeDee Lamb. Neither player, I think both were under 10 points. So it was just one of those slogs of a game where I think I had 4 or 5 different guys put up big points. Sony Michelle, my playoff hero, had a big game. I think Tyler Boyd caught a 60-yard touchdown, and the Eagles had to pick 6 in a span of 5 minutes. And Vince,
huge swing.
Yeah, and we're sitting there watching Red Zone, and I'm like, that was I think what gave me the lead, and it never turned away after that.
Yeah, so that's Joe Mixon that week, and that was pretty much the W.
Yes, Mixon was great too. Mixon was nails all year.
And like you mentioned, James Conner, I believe RB5 on the season, not playing.
I mean, that's a huge hit to not have that guy.
Pretty. Hey, you got to get lucky too, right? So, moving on to the championship matchup, Dan, putting up a respectable 135. but just wasn't quite enough to get to that 139 number that James set out to get. And here we are. We're a champion.
Yeah. It started with a guy being inactive, whatever. Kirk Cousins wasn't there. And, we all knew it was going to come down in some way to that Sunday night game, the Packers and the Vikings. And the fact that I at least had points, I was like, okay, at least I have a chance. Because we've all played fantasy football of so many different leagues over the years. Like we've all gotten screwed on a Sunday night where it's like, oh yeah, I was going to win in the playoffs, whatever. I was like, hey, at least if I have the lead, you never know. And I watched a couple drives of Sean Mannion, and I was like,
and he felt pretty good.
I felt pretty good. And then I think Dalvin Cook even got hurt in the third quarter. And
primetime Kirk Cousins has screwed a lot of people.
Yes, he has. He really has.
I'm just surprised that Cook in those first 3 quarters, I think he had like 17 yards or some shit. Like it was just like, how did he not have more?
I think they just stacked the box because they're like, it's Sean Mannion. So
just get creative, do something. Yeah, throw the guy some screen passes or something. Just figure it out.
It was just a bad game.
You would think in like the almost 2 years that they've had Kirk Cousins during the pandemic, where they knew he wasn't going to get vaccinated, maybe they would have put a little more focus into finding maybe like somebody somewhat viable as a backup.
Well, they drafted Kellen Mond, but like even the coach was like,
Mike Zimmer
hates Kellen Mond.
Put him in the grave before he even played it down. Exactly. That was one of the funniest press conferences. I've never heard a coach bury a player like that. That's never even played.
We all knew Zimmer's time was done, so I guess he
probably didn't give a shit anyway. You're right.
No filter at that point.
Just the weekly reminder that the Eagles got Gardner Minshew for a 6th-round pick, and he won a game this year.
Yeah.
Teams I still like Gardner Minshew.
You're right, Sean.
Up, like value.
I don't know why the Vikings didn't make that move. Absolutely, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, why wouldn't you at least like try to give yourself some?
Especially with a quarterback who's unvaccinated in this year,
unvaccinated. I believe he's in a contract year too. Kirk Cousins.
Chicago has 3 startable quarterbacks on their roster. In your own division, you could have found another quarterback to go out there.
Yeah, I don't understand. I feel like, do you guys think that this offseason, like, do the Eagles just flip Minshew and then get like something more for him? Is he a free agent?
I think so, yeah.
See, that would change. If they had control, I'd be like, I'd just flip him for like a 3rd or something.
Because this was the last year of his rookie deal. Because he was making and he was a late round pick, so he wasn't making anything. So we had him and Hurts on rookie deals.
Yeah, that's great.
And it was great.
Yeah, I could see Minshew starting for a team next year.
He would be. There's so many teams that need a quarterback at this point too. I feel like the Steelers, the Broncos, the Falcons might need one. Like there's tons of quarterback. Their market will be there for him if somebody wants him.
He'll end up being that like late ship that falls in the offseason, I think.
Once like all the good ones are gone, it's like, we can go get Gardner Minshew.
It's going to be a movie. You're like, oh shit, they got Gardner. All right, like
I like the kid. The kid.
Carolina, Denver kind of move.
I remember the good old days of trying to trade for Gardner Minshew when he was on Dustin's team. I don't know if you guys did. You guys ever try to trade for him?
Yeah, I tried.
He was asking an awful lot.
Because I almost got him. Yeah, absolutely.
Good times. All right, so that's how James got to the playoffs and how he won the championship. So let's go ahead and dive into the roster that won the championship. So we'll start right out the gate with some quarterbacks. Justin Herbert, the clear everyday starter here, James, right?
Yeah, look, with Herbert, with him, I would honestly say one of the biggest reasons that I made kind of the big trade that I did in the offseason was because I was so impressed with Herbert's rookie season. Like I mean, this guy, he was amazing his rookie year with not a lot of talent, or not a lot of coaching talent with Anthony Lynn, and the team he was thrown into just like start the year, and he was great. So it was easy to lean on Herbert, and he delivered all year. Like I think he had like a 50-point game, he had like a 30-point game, several 30-point games. In the playoffs, he wasn't amazing, but he got me like at least 20, 25, which was great. So
yeah, Herbert was a set it and forget quarterback.
Yeah. Which
in his second season, I believe wasn't he the last overall pick that year?
Yeah, he was the last overall pick. And I'll kind of transition into Derek Carr even here too, because it's funny you're talking about Gardner Minshew. Because I got Derek Carr from you, Sean, and because I was originally trying to get Minshew from Dustin, but we just couldn't work out a deal. So I went and got Carr as like that comfortable backup. And he was fine. I think the one game I started him, he's fine. It's just that steady Eddie middle of the road quarterback that you need. But part of the reason that I like, because I shipped Matt Ryan out and I really had no quarterback, I was planning to take either Herbert or Hurts at the end of that one draft, and nobody else took Herbert, so I did not expect to get him at 4-10. So
no, usually they kind of go. At least the starters that are looking like they're going to start will go a little bit.
It was just a weird thing because he was such a weird prospect coming out of the draft. You know, the Oregon offense and the Chargers were just this weird team. I kind of liked him in college. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I knew he was going to be great. No. I just knew that he was solid, and like I said, I would have been happy with Jalen Hurts. Obviously glad that I got Herbert instead.
Yeah, I mean, both those guys, the fact that they were both there is pretty interesting. Like, looking back now, it's shit.
Because I think Hurts went in the waiver draft, right?
Yeah, he was one of the first picks of the waiver draft. And going back to what you were talking about with Derek Carr kind of being a middle-of-the-road guy, you know, he didn't have Waller for a good chunk of the year either, and this was his second highest fantasy finish ever. You know, I still feel like there's still a little bit more upside to be had, especially now that Renfro's looking like he's taking over. They still don't really have a number one receiver.
No, they're going to go out and draft one or sign one this offseason.
If they pull a Devonte Adams or something like that, you know, Carr would be probably a little bit more of a tick up, maybe even a top 10 type kind of guy, you know, with that kind of supporting cast. Who knows? And then, you know, Jared Goff, you know, there's not a whole lot there, but, you know, he's a starter.
Yeah, you know, he's
a young starter.
He's hanging on.
The money he's making, they can't not start him.
No, exactly. I don't think he was that bad either. Like, when he has
he had 19 touchdowns and 8 picks this year.
Yeah, draft that man a receiver, other than, you know, to play with the Sun.
I mean, they literally had nobody in the first half of the season to work with. Literally no one. They were throwing to like Khalif Raymond,
it's bad.
Quintez Cephas, and just like it's just not. That's not NFL caliber talent at all.
No. Hawkinson goes down. There's literally nobody.
Yeah, he finished QB 24. But you got to remember, like there was. I mean, I know he was tied to the great Sean McVay offense, but he was QB 6 at one point in his career. So it's not like he can't do shit. Like he could be a QB 2 for sure.
Yep.
So he's just another guy to have around. And he's only
had Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, and Robert Woods as receivers.
Yeah, when he was on a good team,
yeah. When
he was my starting, like he was my QB1 that QB 6 year he had whatever. Like I was rolling him out there every game, and I think I made the playoffs that year. Like he was fine. But
did you draft Goff or did you pick him up?
No, I picked after his horrendous first year. He was just a free agent, and I picked him up during the preseason because there started to be some like good, you know, reports. Oh yeah, he's doing a little bit, you know, better after they kicked freaking Jeff Fisher out of there. There were some good preseason reports, and I think at that time I literally had Matt Ryan, and I don't even know who else I had. So I was like, hey, I just need a young quarterback, and it worked out.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely a guy just to have on the roster. I mean there's worse options out there. I mean if you need one in a pinch, I mean he could at least get you some positive points for the most part. So let's go ahead and move on to the running backs, and this was the bread and butter of this team.
Yeah.
Obviously, let's start right at the top with the two big trade chips with Eckler and Mixon being RB2 and 3.
I mean, what more can I say on those guys? They just look. You got to take big swings sometimes, and sometimes like the Lambs in 2020, it did not work when my whole team died. But the next year, the positive regression to the mean, if you will, I got a little lucky on this one. But with Mixon and Eckler, they both got hurt the year before, right? Mm-hmm. But also before they got hurt, both of their teams signed them to contract extensions, right? So it's like, okay, these teams obviously believe in these guys. Like I've had Eckler on some redraft teams. I've always been a fan of his. Mixon I've never owned in any league. So that one, like he wasn't a guy that I was targeting. Tibbs kind of just hit me up out of nowhere, like trying to, again, after the, I think it was like May after our rookie draft, and I worked the deal where I was like, hey, I'll take both. Like if I'm gonna take one, I might as well take both. And obviously that worked out. With Mixon, he's more of that like true workhorse back, right? Where he's, you can give him 20, 25 carries, and that is what I was looking for. And Eckler, it's crazy though, because Eckler had 20 touchdowns, which is absurd.
Yeah, I don't think anybody saw 20 touchdowns coming from him. And not only that, he did 2 games with single digit points, and the rest were double digits. Was the epitome of consistent throughout the year. And then, Mixon finishing at RB3, had some huge games mixed, sprinkled in with some single digit points, but he had a 25, a 29, 23. He actually had 4 straight weeks between 8 and 12 with 20 points or more. So, I mean, he was just a stud for the middle part of the year. So obviously, and he's only 25.
I know.
He's still young as hell.
But that was the other thing too. Both Mixon, Eckler, even McCaffrey, they're all kind of the same age. So that's why it was one of those things where I was like, you know what? It's either all going to hit this year or it's going to fail spectacularly, and I'll have to do like an actual rebuild. Obviously, the latter hit, and
Yeah, I mean, all 3 backs are 25 as it stands right now. I mean, next year, if you're thinking about running backs, those 3, 26 is probably the prime of a running back's career, you'd imagine.
I would consider that the prime for sure.
For the repeat, it's looking kind of nice if McCaffrey can show up, unless you're moving him or something.
He's on the trade block, but no, I don't think anyone's gonna offer any. Like, it's one of those things where I'll collect.
Just ride it out.
Yeah, I'll ride it, and hopefully he because again, the couple times he played this year, he was great. It's just the dude can't stay on the freaking field.
Yeah, he's definitely been hurt more than people would like, for us, at least fantasy owners would like. Let's go ahead and move to AJ Dillon. Finished the year as RB21, and I liked AJ Dillon a lot coming out of college. He kind of reminded me of a more versatile, like Brandon Jacobs-y kind of guy.
That's what I was thinking of. I love those backs too.
I love them too.
Big power backs. Oh yeah.
And but this crazy thing is he can catch the ball, which is people have no idea. Like coming out of college, they thought his hands were like Michael Clayton rocks, and this guy he can actually catch the ball. So and he blocks well, and Aaron Rodgers likes him. So it's kind of everything you need from a Green Bay Packers running back. I mean, one Aaron Jones injury, we saw what he could do. He dropped a 24 in week 10. He dropped a 20 in week 17, and then sprinkled in pretty much 9s and 7s throughout the entire rest of the rest of the season, which is a fine flex play.
For sure, yeah. I mean, the Packers offense is so good that they can support 2 backs. There's usually a team or two every year that can support multiple backs. Like I remember even last year, it was Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb for the Browns. So one of those top teams, if they run the ball efficiently, again, throwing the ball to the running backs too, you can get that value. And then, the upside is he's a back-end RB1 anytime Aaron Jones misses a game. So he's one of those guys that you just want to have on your team. I feel like it's just, he's not going to be like flashy or anything right now, but like, you draft him and then you're like, oh, that's okay. And then you realize how valuable he is when he actually has to play when you got other injuries and stuff. So I'm a big AJ Dillon supporter, and that was another one of the Lambs core draft picks from a couple of years ago. So the drafting coming together along with the trading and the free agency, this is how your championship is built right here. Sure. I can't believe I didn't start him in week 17. It almost cost me too, because he had a massive game. And
I'm looking at it right now. He had a 20.3.
I had him in my lineup. Then I put Mike Evans in instead, which still was fine, but
it's hard to not start Evans.
I should have taken like Tyler Boyd or somebody else out for Dillon, but whatever.
So let's talk about Sony Michelle, arguably the MVP of this playoff run. Would you say? I mean, this guy showed up out of literally nowhere. Obviously got traded from the Patriots for a 4th round pick, which people were clowning them for that pretty early on, but it definitely worked for him.
We talked about, Eric, you and I on the Dynabook season preview, we had an extensive conversation about Sony Michelle, and I'll reiterate what I said then, I'll say now. He averaged 5 yards a carry last year. It was less than 100 carries, but he was really good with the Patriots in whatever limited touches. By the way, like he's not an exciting back. Like he's not Christian McCaffrey. He's not even Aaron Jones. He's not he's not like a Javonte Williams, one of these like young exciting backs that you want, or DeAndre Swift, whatever. Like, but again, in a deep dynasty league, we got to start a lot of players. Bye weeks, injuries. He's a guy that just when he gets the opportunity, he's solid because he's kind of like that little bit of a power back, and teams like to run that where, especially the Rams have this big vertical passing game. It kind of is nice for them where they can do this power running game sometimes. And Darrell Henderson, as we know, is not durable. Nope. And I think I mentioned it on the season preview. in my opinion, it wasn't a coincidence when they traded for him. Like McVay came out and said like, oh yeah, we're concerned about Henderson or whatever, or like they weren't giving him preseason reps and things of that nature. And they went out and made the trade because, and I kind of saw it as a precursor, like, hey, they don't trust this guy to last the whole year. And that prophecy became very true.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead. You have that whole narrative working against him, right? Like first round pick, so like expectations are going to keep
dropping
up here.
Oh, yeah.
You get traded before your rookie deal is even up. So like outside looking in, everyone's
the
like,
optics
okay,
aren't great.
The Patriots just trying to punt this guy, so like he must be awful. So that value just tanks, and finding the right time to pounce on that value is just exactly what happened. So
I think in this league too, I think we, like James was kind of talking about, we get so caught up with these flashy guys, even some of the stashes, on your bench that might be, hard to look at, if you will, because they didn't quite meet the expectations. So like a Sony Michelle is a perfect example. Like for example, for Justin this year, Rashad Penny, like just guys that
that's a good one,
solid situation. Like they're like not flashy, they're not exciting, but like those are the guys that really can push your team when all these other, especially this year with all the injuries and COVID and shit. Like
it's
you
a league
need
winner.
These kind of guys to win.
If Justin was in the playoffs, he may have won with Rashad Penny. I mean, I saw him putting up big points on the consolation brackets too, right? Like you have a guy like that who's getting the care. Hey, Sean, you said on one of the previous podcasts, he was leading the league in rushing in December. Like you timed that up right. Sorry, Sony Michelle was. Well, so it's just that's what you're looking for. Yeah,
some of these older veteran guys they kind of just slip through the cracks, and obviously they're not free agency worthy guys. Like you won't see these guys floating around our waiver wire or anything like that. But like I think we overlook these guys, when we're talking about these team reviews and when we go to trade discussions and all that kind of stuff. Like these kind of guys are the ones that just fall through the cracks because they don't have that age.
Well, nobody wants them in trades. They're, unless it's like a throw-in.
Right. And that maybe, like, for example, this year, if you caught Sony Michelle at the right time in a trade in the middle of the season or something, just like, hey, like maybe just a lottery ticket, then, that's going to pay out, every here and there. So it's just an interesting talking point when you're looking at this roster as a whole and, like what kind of propelled you to that championship. I think that's an interesting point. So let's go to the next running back on the list, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on some of these other guys, but I do want to talk about Kenny Gainwell a little bit, just because he is a rookie, and we do have a resident Eagles fan here as well. So RB45 on the year. The Eagles definitely split their carries up. How do you feel about Kenny Gainwell, James? You drafted him.
I was really high on him. So high on him on pre-draft process that I almost took him 2-3. It's a true story.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because I had him ranked like 13th or 14th on my board. It was one of those things where I was gonna like try to make it happen. I was like, all right. And again, this is I had 0 at RB2. This is before the Mixon and Eckler trade. So I'm just, I had a backroom deal with Dustin to go up and get Trey Sermon, but then Vince took him. Like I was trying to get Michael Carter, all these things. So I was like trying to make things happen to get an RB2, and I liked Gainwell. I was glad I took him later in the draft. Kind of my reasoning too on the Eagles is Sanders doesn't have his next contract. It's a new coaching staff. It's one of those things where it feels like he can kind of make that impression, and he really did. But then it was weird. Like I think I started him once or twice, and he flopped because the Eagles were weird with how they, Sean, how they deploy their rotations sometimes
every week.
And then Boston Scott and Jordan Howard come out, dust off the cobwebs. But I do think Gainwell can be, maybe he can be a Sony Michelle in a couple years or something like that. But I also think he's got some good receiving chops, so I think he'll be a flex option maybe late next year. But hopefully by like year 3 he can become more of a viable starter.
I mean, they trust him. They trust him on third down in the receiving game right now, so he's going to see the field. As long as Miles Sanders is on the team, I don't know if he's really going to have like a bigger role than that.
No,
he looked okay against Dallas, considering all the backups were playing, and they were playing against the starters for some reason. The Dallas decided to play.
He went 12
they just shot
at the 8 and a touchdown.
Dallas shot at the 2 seed, so
That's true. So, I mean, he looked good. I just don't trust the Eagles staff, regardless of what iteration of the Eagles coaching staff it is, to like competently distribute running back carries.
Yeah, it's really funny if you look at his game log. It's like 1, 2, 3 for carries, and then 13 out of nowhere, and then like 2, and then 12 again out of nowhere. So I think the volatility early on to play him is going to be too hard to predict. But like you said, if obviously I don't think Boston Scott's going to be much longer in the league, and some of these other random jackasses that the Eagles throw out there, I think Gainwell is going to be a constant for the next couple of years at least. So I like to at least have an upside back on the bench, in case of a Sanders injury or something. This is another guy that I like. So
the only thing I see the Eagles doing in the draft offensively is going to be on the O-line. Otherwise, I think they're going to go straight defense. I think they're pretty happy with their offense right now, to be honest.
There's building blocks there for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of competition for him who's already comfortable with the playbook and all that going into next year. So he's only going to get better. But I think it's just a matter of Sanders and what he does.
Yeah. Sanders can't stay on the field, though, man. This dude gets hurt all the time. So I'm not sure he's getting a second contract from the Eagles.
Last ankle, man.
Yeah. He's a good player. Like, I'm not trying to disparage Miles Sanders. I don't think the Eagles will give him a second contract. I think he'll have to go somewhere else.
I mean, just check that Redskin Washington professional football team. Commanders? I don't know. But, just check that game before he hurt his ankle. Like, Miles Sanders looked elite.
I'm not doubting the talent.
Nobody is saying
Nobody's
sucks.
doubting the talent. It's just
no Sony Michelle.
Everybody. They don't use it. They just don't use them effectively at all.
Yeah.
All right, that's way too much Eagles talk for this podcast. So we're moving on to some Bucks talk. So we got some Keyshawn Vaughn action.
Scared? No, I'm just kidding.
Keyshawn action. Keyshawn has done quite literally nothing in 2 years. Had that one run like 2 weeks ago or whatever. Like everybody's like, "Oh, Keyshawn Vaughn, he's back from the dead." I don't know. Maybe he ends up being something. Who knows? He might.
Yeah. Look,
give him next year, see what happens.
Ronald Jones is as good as gone. There's no chance he's coming back. Fournette's not under contract. Keyshawn Vaughn is literally the only running back under contract for the Bucs next year. Fun fact.
As good as a lottery ticket as any.
Yeah. Do I think he's going to be the starter? No, I don't. But I think he's got a shot to be like, maybe a 5 to 10 carry guy if it's just like Fournette, him, and some other random rookie, and maybe he can beat out whatever random rookie the Bucs draft. His receiving chops though are bad. He's had some really bad drops.
Some terrible drops.
He was a free agent.
Blocking too.
Yeah, he was a free agent I picked up at the end of the year. I'm happy I scooped him up before that long touchdown run. So
honestly, I didn't even know he was a free agent.
Yeah.
Like if I would have thought about that a little harder, I probably would have picked him up just out of because running backs are so bad.
Yeah.
But
with all the trades that I've made, I don't have that many like rookies that I am invested in on my bench. So I've been scouring the waiver wire kind of all year to pick up some of these random guys, and it kind of worked out for now. But it's not even a guarantee he'll be on my roster next year, right? Like the Bucs could draft someone in the first round
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah. So I mean, just talking about the rest of these kind of as a whole, you got Marlon Mac.
I'm still holding out hope.
A USF product, Marlon Mac, I should say, and Marlon Mac could end up at another team next year and actually like be usable. Who knows? He had the Achilles injury. No, he's gone. He's as good as gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, if there's any running back that's been as good as gone over the last couple of years, it's definitely Marlon Mac. Chris Evans, actually, I love Chris Evans. You gotta love Captain America, dude. I actually think this guy's really good though. If for whatever reason they didn't feel good enough to put him over Samaje Perine this year, I don't understand. That being said, like give him a couple of years, maybe this guy actually ends up being something. He's a great receiving back.
Yeah, no, I think he's a player. Yes, I agree. Like, yeah, he's somebody that barring something unforeseen, I plan to stash at least through next year, and then we'll see. But.
Yeah, he seems like an ideal just wait and see kind of guy. Derek Gore, like Sean and I talked about this, I think either on like NHL or something on here. We're like, Derek Gore, he wasn't that bad. But he's like a random 26-year-old running back I'd never heard of. And I just was so confused. So,
late bloomer.
You never know with him. I mean, it's just a random guy to have on the end of the bench. And Josh Kelly hasn't really done anything.
Playoff start. Hey, he contributed 2 points to a semis win. Thank you, Josh Kelly.
Hey, he got his ring.
He got his ring.
And then Darrington Evans was, I believe, a second-round pick from a couple of years ago, right? Or a third-rounder.
third
And
round.
He's just been
and
hurt
then-
his entire career
yeah.
so far.
It's a shame because freaking Derrick Henry got hurt.
Yeah, this was his shot.
This was his chance.
That was his shot. That's what you drafted him for, really. Was
Yep.
just for that one off that he gets hurt, and there he goes. So I mean, it's a great running back room, from a top end talent standpoint, and then there's also a little bit of depth and a couple of younger guys I like too. So I love this running back room right now, the way it sits. Let's go ahead and move on to the receivers, and this is, if you're. This would be like a meat and the potatoes of the team, if I will. There's not one guy that just blew my socks off out of this group, but they were all just steady as they go, and that's all you need when you have the RB2 and RB3 and quarterback 2. So you didn't need a whole lot from these guys. That being said, Mike Evans statistically had a great year and on the field.
Touchdown machine with Brady. I mean, that's just he's money in the red zone. It's impressive.
Touchdowns, career high.
He had 13 last year. Like he's just impressive to watch. I mean, Mike Evans. I love the guy. Right, Bucks.
Who doesn't love Mike Evans?
He's been on a part of. He's been the wide receiver one on every Lambs championship team. So he's near and dear to my heart.
He's a future Lambs Hall of Famer, if you will, Ring of Honor member.
Yeah. Oh, he's snap call.
Snap call. And I will have you know, random fun fact, guys. This is Mike Evans' first year with a rushing attempt for 10 yards.
Wow.
Look at him go, right?
I like it.
They give him a little pizzazz there this year, too.
Get him involved.
Yeah, he's just been rock solid over the past literally decade at this point almost. He's been one of those guys when they first drafted. I believe it was Jason Light's first draft pick, too.
Yep.
Just one of those guys that you just love to have on your team. I can't imagine that he goes anywhere anytime soon, especially with Brady. Let's go ahead and move down to a little bit more of an interesting topic. CeeDee Lamb, right? CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver 13.
Yeah.
I believe a lot of people thought that he might break out a little bit more. It almost feels like a disappointment somehow, even at wide receiver 13.
It kind of does, yeah.
Is that how it felt all year to you?
No. There was he had some games in the middle of the year. I remember there was one game in particular where like I thought I was dead in the water. It was like week 5 or 6. I believe it was against Justin, and then he just went off. It was the Patriots game where CeeDee Lamb had like
9 for 149 and 2 touchdowns.
He just destroyed, and like he was amazing that game. But other than that, he was more of just steady, like 60 yards here, 80 yards here.
So it's weird because the last 14 through week 18, he was 7, 5, 6, 5, 4. So I think it might be a recency bias thing for us because we're probably just like, he hasn't done anything lately. Yeah. But he also had games of 28, 22, 12, 17, 9. So like he was a quality player for the majority of the year.
And look, he played in a lot of the games. Wide receiver 13 availability is key.
I mean,
he played in 16 games.
If you take it all the way back to week 1 against the Bucks, which I'm pretty sure was at the opening Thursday night game, right? The first football game of the season. He's got 15 targets.
I know.
Over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown against a Bucks defense that everybody going into the year was like, damn, these guys are pretty good. Like one of the top defenses in the NFL. It's an impressive stat line. Like, and then you go the rest of the year, like it's hard to like meet that hype the entire year.
That's true.
So I don't know if that contributes to it. He had a great year. It just feels like it wasn't as good as it could have been.
Is this the most disappointing 1,106 touchdown year in history?
Well, just because I think, you try and compare him to guys like Chase or Jefferson. He's not in that class yet.
He could be.
He could be still. And I want to ask you guys something too with Lamb because I was listening to one of the end of the season other Dynasty podcasts that's out there, and they aggregate like data on like the startup drafts, and obviously Chase and Jefferson are 1, 2. Lamb is the 3rd receiver, and it's going in startup drafts. Now this might be PPR because everyone else plays PPR, but even I thought that was high. You guys.
I think it depends on like how much you like take into like future value. Like if you're thinking like 5 years down the line, like all of those guys that are in their first 2 years in the league, I think are going to be super high up there.
Right.
If you don't mind if you don't mind valuing players that are like in their like mid 20s to like 26, 27, then I think he would drop down a little more. For me.
Yeah, like your Devonte Adams or Tyreek Hill are clearly like I would in a redraft. You're taking both those guys over Lamb next year still. So
I would probably take Devonte Adams ahead of Lamb in a in a dynasty
startup.
startup.
I think I would too.
Yeah, I think the thing also to remember too with CeeDee Lamb is he's only 22. He
He's
came in as a
young.
really young rookie. He's actually 2 years younger than Najee Harris right now. That
Wow.
Najee Harris.
Harris drop. So I think you still have plenty of ceiling left to go. And his first 2 years, he comes in as a wide receiver 20 and then wide receiver 13. You can't ask for a whole lot more out of a rookie. I mean, it's just we've been very spoiled watching guys like Chase and Justin Jefferson just blow up the league, their first 2 years. But he's also fighting for targets with a lot of other superstars too. So
It's true.
I still love CeeDee Lamb. I still think he's got plenty of upside.
I think Dak has a better connection with Cooper too. Like sometimes Dak and Lamb.
I think so too.
Yeah. So.
And now he's a top 3 wide receiver in Dynasty with James's offseason hype piece, so he can trade him now. So you got that going. It's great.
My team name is the Lambs. I'm never trading CeeDee Lamb.
I feel like unless there's a team name change, there's
you will see a team name change before I trade Lamb. Like that'll be the precursor.
I'm gonna have to take a clip of that.
It's not happening. I'm telling you, it's not happening.
James loves the Lambs. What can you say? Then let's talk about 2 guys that actually 3 arguably. The next 3 guys on the list are probably just like the most like they're not meh, but they're just like underrated every single year, and they just show up every single year. The one that blew me away was Tyler Lockett, wide receiver 10, higher than CeeDee Lamb.
I know he finished strong.
I didn't see that shit coming on.
Mr. Boomer Bust, baby.
Yeah. Oh my god. His big weeks though are just
so big.
They're so big. Yeah.
He had 4 games over 20 this year, and then sprinkled in a bunch of random shit in between.
He started off the year with 2 20-point games. It was just he was the wide receiver 1 after 2 weeks. So we knew that wasn't going to hold.
Wide receiver 1 through like 8 weeks last year. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because he had like a 30-point game early in the year last year too.
Mm-hmm.
The boy can play.
That's one of. I mean,
that one's gonna hurt when Russ leaves.
Yeah.
That could change.
I hope they trade. Like, I hope if Russ gets traded, like, just throw Lockett in. That's what they should do.
They just keep them together, keep them tied together.
Look,
or if he ends up going to like the Giants or some shit, and then it's just not good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd never have. I don't think I've ever had Tyler Lockett on a single team of mine, and I don't know if it's ever going to change. He just is one of those guys that just. I know he's good, but I just think of volatility is so hard to draft.
Ideal flex or third receiver.
Exactly. That's because even kind of in tandem with Cooks too. Like Alex made a point, I think in the chat on the last live thing, like, oh, like I haven't started Brandon Cooks once in redraft, and I get it. With Lockett's kind of the same way, but again, we start 3 extra flex guys. Guys like Lockett and Cooks are perfect. Just throw in the bottom because it's like I don't really know if he's gonna have a big week this week, but he could, and when it hits hard.
Another thing too is when those guys hit, like you said, at the end of the year, if you get a string of 3 games in the playoffs, which is all you need, that could drill. So those guys do have a ton of value, especially in a league with a bunch of roster spots like we do. And then to kind of round out that trio, Tyler Boyd, he's a steady Eddie Moore kind of guy, but at the same time, he dropped a 60-yard touchdown for you this past, I think in the semis or the
semi. Yeah, the semis. He had a huge touchdown.
So like even guys that maybe don't have that quite that flash, and we don't talk about them in that same dynasty tier, like they still have value, and that's how you can win, with depth like that. So kudos to you for getting a bunch of guys like that. And then the rest here, we got kind of a hodgepodge of guys. I think there's, Devonte Parker and Sanders kind of in that upper end of that hodgepodge. Sanders, I don't know how he's still playing, honestly.
He looks washed, man. I
think it's over.
If anybody wants him, send me an offer, but I doubt you.
You might want to bark up Scavelli's tree on that one. That seems like his kind of guy.
He loves veterans. No,
honestly, after week 1 this year,
he might be a summer cut because he just looked like I started him once towards the end of the year, and he just was trash. Like I think his age started to catch up with him this year because he was good early in the year, and then he had nothing left.
I think his legs might have just gave out on him.
Yeah, like Gabe Davis is way better than him. So,
on Devonte Parker, is 2 of the worst possible quarterback? His quarterback,
a chuck and pray receiver, a Voosh receiver. James.
Probably. I think, yeah, exactly. I think I've heard Parker, there's like an out in his contract for the Dolphins. I pray the Dolphins just cut him. Like, let him go anywhere else. I don't care.
Literally, I think anywhere would be better.
Yeah,
I don't think it would hurt to go anywhere. I mean, gosh, if I'm the Bucks, and I'd just throw a 5th round pick or a 4th rounder at that.
Sure.
Seems
Why
like
not? I mean, he's got a shitty contract though.
Seems like a nice little cheap Detroit landing place for them that doesn't want to spend for a receiver.
It's an interesting one too. Maybe
he's a good fit with St. Brown too.
I think it's really just going to depend if they cut him or not because he's got that huge contract. So I'm not sure. And then a couple other guys here. Laquan Treadwell showed up out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he's actually pretty solid the last few weeks. I mean, he looked like the biggest joke in the league for the last 4 seasons, and actually looked like a receiver here at the end of this year. So that's interesting. Braxton Barrios, could be a future Buck. He fits the prototype. You never know. I think it's possible. I think he's a free agent too.
He is a free agent. Yeah.
Seems like the kind of guy Brady would like. And then, honest to God, James, I don't even know where Josh Reynolds plays right now. Could you help me on that?
He's on the Lions. Come on,
he's a Lions guy. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I'm not sure if he's a Titans guy.
He was in the Titans. They cut him. They cut him.
Shows you how much I know about Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
Not doing my research here. Also, random guy on the end of this bench, Jamal Agnew. I actually liked him when he played. A former defensive back. That guy just showed up and just ran around and made plays.
He had a 60-yard rushing touchdown, and I started him. So
He's got 2 Jags receivers on his team, and he won the title.
He got a ring. They both Laquan Treadwell got a ring.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. All right, let's get going here on the tight ends. This is arguably the weakest of the group.
It is the weakest. Fant saved his best game for the championship, though. So
sure did.
I think he scored like my last points of the game. Like the final points that got me to 139. I think it was Fant scored a garbage time touchdown.
Yeah, he got 6 for 92 and a touchdown.
You gotta love the garbage
15
time
points.
Yeah.
So I mean, the good news with Fant is he's still super young, and there's almost certainly going to be a new quarterback there that will probably elevate the play of other people. So maybe, if Aaron Rodgers goes there, you got a freaking winner immediately. So
I still believe in the talent. I just think it's a low volume passing offense with other guys who need targets. So you're just kind of like dead in the water.
Yeah, unless you got a high volume passing attack. I don't know. If week to week it's gonna be different for everyone.
Sorry. Yeah, he had 15 in the championship, and the next game he had 12 yards.
Yeah,
it's just like
if the trade value isn't to where the person's talent is, just hold him.
Yeah,
that's usually the right play, honestly.
Yeah.
Then we got. I'm not even gonna talk about Hooper because I just think he stinks, I've said that for a long time. I'm not a fan, and he's on a disgustingly large contract. I actually looked it up because I'm a Harrison Bryant stan.
Yeah.
So I've been waiting for David Njoku and Hooper to get cut for the hot minute now. And Hooper has no out in his contract until after next season because this season he's owed $9 million and then $10 million or something.
They like him as a blocker, but
it's literally one of the worst signings in recent history, in my opinion. Anywho, we'll move on. Not too much Browns tight end talk. Tyler Conklin showed up out of nowhere, kind of for that Irv Smith spot. And James, I believe you do not have Irv Smith anymore, so that was part of your trade for Gainwell.
Yeah, it was. It was the straight up deal, Irv Smith for Gainwell, or the pick that I took Gainwell. And yeah, Conklin, it was a natural. Just all right. Well, I need a tight end 3. Like he's gonna get the snaps. Sure, he's not good either, but he got targets.
He's just very average. He should be a tight end 2.
Yeah, no, this is my biggest offseason. Like I'm gonna be scouring the rookie tight ends to see if I can get a prospect in there.
Yeah, I think too, without having your first round pick this year, the tight end market in rounds 2, 3, 4.
I don't have a second rounder either.
Oh, then 3 and 4 then. You'll have to do some hard researching on that. So
just trade the 5th best rookie quarterback to Alex for a tight end 1.
Well, the tight end 1, not a tight end 1.
That's what I'm saying. The tight end 1.
Najee Harris.
Let's go ahead and move on to our mini game. I believe it's our second mini game of this podcast, and this is the one we did last time with Sean that I truly enjoyed, so I brought it back.
Yeah.
So this is Would You Rather, and I'm going to start with Sean. Would you rather have Mac Jones or Trevor Lawrence?
You're going to make me talk shit about Trevor Lawrence and then put me in a situation where I'm still going to pick him?
Najee Harris.
Still going to take Trevor Lawrence. I think Mac Jones has got a very low ceiling. This is give me
funny enough. The site that I aggregated for this for these Would You Rather's had Mac Jones ahead of him in dynasty rankings.
Why? Who is taking Mac? Who
I
is
don't know.
taking Mac Jones in Dynasty? Like he's
Gonna get exposed this week.
yeah. I'm not sure. Like I'm not sure if he's gonna make it to the end of his contract with the Patriots. Sorry. All right. Let me rephrase.
Whoa.
I'm not sure if he's gonna get I mean, this is way down the line. He doesn't look like a plus starter to me. He looks like is he better than Baker Mayfield? What he is like? I just.
Do you think this is because Patriots fans had to watch like Cam Newton for the majority of last year?
It
That
might
they're
be.
probably just like, holy shit, Mac Jones looks so
we
good.
have-
You complete
Yeah.
a pass.
It could be.
Yeah.
His arm is not strong. Like he
No.
loses so many windows that are open
Yes.
in the passing game there because his arm isn't strong enough.
No, this is.
And
I like the
he's
kid,
in
but I don't think he's better than
not
Trevor
gonna
Lawrence.
go. He's gonna be.
No.
It's not gonna be good.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. We already know how you guys feel on this one. Here's the next one. Is it J.K. Dobbins or Ezekiel Elliott?
Like moving forward in a dynasty league.
This is a Dynasty podcast, Sean.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're talking redraft, I'll probably take Zeke, yeah. But
I think I still might go
Dynasty.
Dobbins.
I'm probably gonna go with Dobbins too.
yeah, I was on the fence with this one. I think it just depends on your team makeup. You know, if you're kind of a rebuilder or going for it all, maybe I would take Zeke ahead. But I still like Dobbins better.
Now that I see people
Yeah.
come back from Achilles injuries, no injuries really scare me anymore. So
Yeah,
Sure.
Cam Akers showing up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
All right, here's
Dobbins had
another
his
one.
injury early. He'll be fine.
Damian Harris or Elijah Mitchell.
Wow, that's a good one. Wow.
Both backs played really well this year. Arguably you could pretty much argue that both these guys are in extremely volatile potential
Yeah.
backfields. I don't know who I would take. I might just side with the youth and go Mitchell. And Harris isn't really that old either.
Yeah. I would actually go Harris. Mitchell's injury this year is concerning, right? For a guy like it just seems like Shanahan's like, all right, I need to ride this guy into the ground because Sermon's not ready for whatever reason this year. Jeff Wilson stinks. You know, so they're just riding Mitchell into the ground. I think there's a reason he's like a 6th round pick. I think Damian Harris is a better player. I would rather have Damian Harris.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Harris too. Like Harris has played really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing that scares people off of Harris is Stevenson. I mean,
They
if
run the
Harris
ball.
was the only guy there,
Yeah.
then it looks way better. But they do run the shit out of the ball, and that's their entire makeup of their offense right now with Mac Jones. So that's probably
I'm
the
not
better
sure
pick.
I'll take the better player. Damian Harris is better.
Yeah.
All right, I believe we got the next one is Michael Pittman or Jerry Judy, both
Wow.
Muskrats players. They just happen to be next to each other on this ranking, so I went with this.
Tim Patrick.
I'm taking Michael Pittman. He actually looks like a 1. I haven't
Wow.
seen shit from Judy yet.
Yeah. I was gonna say Judy, but
What's funny is that
I don't know.
would they complement each other really well on the football field? As
They probably,
receivers?
they
I
probably
mean,
would.
Pittman's very similar to Sutton, so yeah. Would you take Cortland Sutton or Jerry Judy?
Still give me Sutton. He just needs a
Wow.
quarterback. He's a
I think
better
I'd
receiver.
take Judy
He's just-
over Sutton, but I would take Pittman over Judy. If that makes sense.
Interesting. Okay. With Judy, this it sucks because he got the high ankle sprain week 1. I just feel like that sets you back the whole year too.
And that he's playing with Teddy Bridgewater, which I thought would be better for him, but
Yeah,
it hasn't really been the case. So,
It was not.
Give me Pittman.
all right, Pittman for you. James, do you take Pittman?
I think I actually would go Judy still.
James is going Judy.
I
Jerry
believe-
Judy. Judge
Yeah.
Judy.
Yeah.
All right, so that's 2 for Pittman, 1 for Judy on this one. And let's do, I think we got one more. Stephon Diggs or CD Lamb?
Ooh.
I know we did a lot of CD Lamb discussion already. Stephon Diggs
Yeah.
has been pretty damn good, and he's
He has
still
been.
pretty young.
What's his age? Yeah. What's the age on
I'm gonna
that?
do a quick.
right now.
Oh, never mind. Sean, my co-host, has got this
Sean's got
handled.
it.
I don't need to do anything. I just run the podcast.
Ooh, he's 28.
I think I take. Never mind. I'm taking Lamb. I think
Yeah,
he's like 26.
six years is a lot. Yeah, I'd have to probably go Lamb.
I'll take 6 more years of Lamb, please. And nope, we had one more. I lied. TJ Hawkinson or Dallas Goddard. I think I know my pick. I'll let you guys talk first, though.
I think I'd go Goddard. I used to be against him, but
You turned her against me.
I was pretty impressed with what he did this year, and I think once Ertz isn't there, I feel like he's done better. But Hawkinson's good too.
Just
I'm
for
really
me,
thinking about this.
just for kneeling like a fuckhead, I'm taking TJ Hawkinson.
Sean has vested interest in this right now because of Goddard's playoff performance.
Oh.
Let's talk. This was
I
your.
would have silently put this in here because of that.
This is year 2 for Hawkinson. He was hurt pretty much the entire year, so I don't. I love the third year breakout for tight ends. I think I'll still take Hawkinson.
I think Hawkinson's better. Yeah. I like Hawkinson a lot better. I think you give him an actual year, and God forbid if he ever got on a good offense with a good quarterback, outside of Stafford, obviously. But if he ends up in a long-term situation with a good quarterback, that would be pretty nice.
Yeah.
I like this too because they're both like 100% of the snaps tight ends because they're both really good blockers.
Yeah, those guys aren't coming off the field.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's important.
Still take Hawkinson though. I think a little bit younger.
Yeah, I'll take the Iowa guy. I'm on board with that. All right, so we are at 55 minutes, and that is the end of our slideshow here. So we had a good time talking about the Lambs. We did a couple of mini games. We are also going to do another podcast in the very near future with the Swallows general manager, Vincent Patrick Nanny. He has an announcement to make, so we'll let him make the announcement live on a podcast. And then we'll start getting into some of the offseason stuff like I did last year, doing some more team reviews. If you guys have any ideas on like what you want to see, I can come up with a lot of shit, but if there's something you want to see, let me know or put in the chat or something like that just to switch things up. I was even thinking, James, we could do team reviews where we have some other people talking about their own teams, perhaps. Instead of last year, we were kind of getting random people to talk about random teams. So maybe we can try to drive some trade discussions, perhaps through, like just talking about your own players, kind of like we did here today. Yeah. So just some ideas, but thanks again for joining me on this one, James and Sean as well. It was a good one, and we will do this again very soon. So with that, we'll say goodbye.